Quiet on the set. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Welcome to Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about anything and everything that's come across our desk in the last week since last we met. And we have got a cadre of panelists here this morning. Let me pull them up on the stage. So we have Ellen, who's here today. She is at blog.familyhistoryhound. Let me send you the link. And while you go exploring with that, let me just mention we've got some guests out there. We've got somebody from Shaker Heights next to Cleveland. Hi, John. Melinda's out there. She's one of our co hosts and she's welcoming folks over there. Thank you so much for doing that, Melinda. Marion is in Massachusetts, which I remember that from Chesterfield, Virginia, but watching in Sunset Beach, North Carolina. Boy, you get around, darling. There's our friend Valerie. And of course, Melinda, forgot to mention this. I don't know if you know and have seen those pictures from it had to be a tornado in Houston, how some of those great big, huge towers that handle the electrical lines, they were just squashed and bent and mangled like my brother's erector sets from gosh, the 50s and the 60s. It just looked horrible. But I'm glad you're safe, Melinda, and I hope things improve there. Hillary is on the panel there today in the pink. Sunny afternoon in Wales. That's good. And then we used to live close to where Karen is in Arlington. We lived in Alexandria in the Kingstown area. Mr. Myrt had a nice townhouse there. That was before we were married and before we consolidated. We merged our households. Okay. Ellen, who's also on the panel, and she's next to me in the middle of the upper row. That's whose website I just added with you or gave to you. Whoa. Anyway. And of course, Randy, you're coolish and cloudish, Chula Vista in California. It's all
Very
good.
good. Yep.
Oh boy, we had a nice day yesterday. In fact, it got to 77 degrees in our living room by the time we got home from our trip to Orcas Island. Escondido, Dito. I always say it with T's instead of a D, Paul. But anyway, just north of Randy. Yes. And hi, Betty Lou from Arkansas. And my cousin Cynthia and Diane Bush. You're supposed to be working, kiddo. Yes, she is, I'm sure. Linda's grateful to have power. And Karen, so good to see you from sunny Pennsylvania. And somebody else has joined us. Jill Morelli's here. Hi, Jill. So, Jill, let me just bring you, share with everyone your, and turn on your mic. I think it's on. You have a very interesting a class that you teach about people or for people who want to become a certified genealogist. Now, I'm certifiable. But you actually have a class that you tutor people, and I want to share my screen so that they can see yours and a couple other blogs here.
Oh, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about why you decided to do that class for people, because you've run it a couple of times and I have heard good things from people.
Well, thank you. And you've been a good supporter for us, so I appreciate that. The certification discussion group started 7 years ago, and it started right after I became certified as a genealogist with the Board for Certification of Genealogy. And what I saw was that people were afraid to talk about it. They were afraid to discuss anything because there was kind of this myth that surrounded it that made it seem like a hill that was too hard to climb. And so I wanted to perhaps demystify that a little bit and to bring it to be a little more comprehensible to everyone. And so we teach every spring and every fall. at least 2 classes. One's during the daytime and one's in the evening. I'm very committed to evening classes because I
Mhm.
remember while I worked, I was unable to participate. And we go through all of the elements of the portfolio one by one, taking over an hour with each one. We discuss the things we can discuss.
Now
And
that's important because
yes,
there's
mhm,
the specifics of a portfolio cannot be discussed. It has to
correct.
not be peer reviewed or published. Isn't
Right,
that
right.
correct?
That's absolutely correct. And the rubrics serve as our guide. And
Mhm.
so, put out by BCG for free.
Mhm.
We're kind of the unofficial guide to the certification process. Um, we allow any kind of conversation to occur, but we might cut some off because we can't talk about it. Um,
Yes.
so we just try to make sure that the asker never feels impeded by their questions.
Okay.
Even more even somewhat more exciting is that after the person graduates from that program, completes that program, we have a very active private Facebook page for graduates. And
Mhm.
we run classes every 2 weeks where we have a certified genealogist come and talk to us. We're having, for example, Karen Stanberry come to talk to us about the new certified genetic genealogy credential.
Mhm.
And we have her coming to talk to us as well. So, anyway, there's just a lot of activity. We also just received from the NGS um, an award of merit for our mentorship and accountability program, which is the only one that's formalized in the country. And in that, we have writing groups, volunteer writing groups, but then we also do one-on-one mentorship with a recently certified genealogist. And that's the program that just received the award of merit this year.
Bravo. Yeah, the thing is there was always such a mystery around the submission of a portfolio, the kinship determination, the being
Yes,
able, there, and you still have to renew every 5 years to,
to
to,
retain the credential. Yeah.
yes. And, uh, but it wasn't, I think it's more approachable when you have some coaching that can be done without the specific kinship that the person is trying to draw out, and have like cheerleaders on the side, but not valley doll cheerleading, serious cheerleading,
Well,
and encouragement.
I just got an email this morning from someone who was highly complimentary of the group and the class. So it's just always heartening to see those things. Um, Not everybody, once they go through the course, not everybody wants to go get certified, and that's fine.
Mhm.
We It's never been our goal to turn everybody into certified genealogists. It's been our goal to teach people what it is, and also, if you really are ready, to get you to submit. If you're really not ready, to do a self-assessment and see where your weaknesses are and to pursue those.
Yeah, now I want to tell you, Miss, that where I'm coming from. I've always been, Dear Myrtle has focused on beginning genealogy people, the newbies, and I don't think of that as a negative term.
Correct. That we don't.
And and there are certain constraints. Like I tend to speak in colloquialisms and off the cuff, and my research, I hope, even begins to approach professional, um,
Mhm, mhm,
uh, you know, research techniques, methodology, analysis, correlation, the whole bit.
right.
But I wanted to be a bridge between the total newbies and the professional genealogists that sometimes looking at them, I mean, I always say if you dropped evidence explained on a newbie's toes, they'd give up to begin with. At least it's not 900 plus pages. The newest one's
Anymore.
800, but now the font size is so small, I need bifocals. But it is not that I do not aspire to use these same good research principles and follow the genealogical proof standard, not just the basic elements, but the little nitty gritty things that are codified in the book by the Board for Certification of Genealogists. And that's not the only credentialing program of merit in the world. We're just talking about this one today. Melinda is saying the course was great, taught her what she needed to wait to take on the task. So that was good. And Melinda's a very competent researcher. So let's see where we are. Somebody else says, Valerie said her portfolio is still in progress for 35 years. That's a couple of, let's renew that. I hear you. And yet Valerie does professional research for people and is quite successful at that.
I think we have to remember the term professional is big and broad. Some people view it as you take clients. Well, no, I view my work as professional. That is, I'm trying to, like you, achieve the highest of standards because I deserve it. I mean, I deserve the best. So why wouldn't I go out and do the best I can?
Yeah.
And so I just view it as a standard of practice, not necessarily a standard of taking clients. I'm also an architect, and so that's as a quote professional architect.
Yes.
I would try to attain the highest standards, whether I was doing it for other people or not.
Or not. Well, you want to climb the right family tree.
That's right.
Figure out which John Doe is it in that neighborhood, and they all named their kids John,
That's
okay.
Right. That's right.
So thank you, Kathy, for not only having participated in this, but now serving as a mentor yourself. I think that's absolutely awesome. And Monta said she loved being considered a newbie and still do since I'm still learning. Yeah, and I always make the comment, and I can't say it anymore because I actually ran across somebody who needed help with North Dakota research. And I always said, oh, I'm a newbie in that research.
Right.
Yeah. Randy, come on up and tell us about why you chose not to become certified. And we should tell people in your other life, you're a rocket scientist, basically. So you're no shrinking violet here.
Not rocket for airplanes, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'd been doing it so long. I got to be age 70, like 10 years ago.
Yes.
And decided, and by then I had 7 years on the blog, and I talked about all my successes and challenges.
So they're published.
I had no more. I had none I could solve at that point in time. DNA has helped, but I've solved by DNA.
Yeah. So the only way around that, what would a solution be for him if he really wanted to become certified, and what would he do?
So we talk about how blogs may or may not be the same kind of writing as what the elements are. And so having done some work on some part of your tree does not eliminate it from being considered as a candidate for one of the elements. And so for a case study or whatever. And the fact that you've solved it is absolutely correct. That's the ones you should use. So we talk about that. We talk about different kinds of case studies you can have if you think you don't have any. So there's prove to me, Randy, who was your grandfather.
Yeah.
so there's a case study.
Yeah.
Particularly, I bet that your grandfather has numerous birth years that are that show up on documents.
That's my grandmother Frances's story. But I have written about it copiously and recorded webinars. Do we have to do our case study on our own family?
No. You can.
So that's another way that Randy could do it. Okay, just a couple more comments and then we'll switch gears. Frank said he would. Oh, Frank is here. Frank So let me pull you up on the stage here,
Hi.
kiddo. Yeah. So you consider yourself a newbie?
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I just started around 10 years ago, but compared to others like Randy or even yourself, I compare myself as a noob because I literally am. I learned so much from everyone I'm talking to. Be it
Well,
on Mondays with Myrt, be it with the guys at Wikitree, and so on.
mm-hmm.
So,
So Jill,
Frank, have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Check that up on.
I heard about it, but I can't recite it anymore.
So basically, what it says is that those who feel they don't have enough education, don't know enough, are usually the ones that know a lot more than they think. Those that think they know everything
oh gosh.
don't. So I would suggest that both you and Randy fall into the former category. So it's just an interesting effect that, and I see this also in some of the students, is where they're education junkies, that they think just one more class will will flip them into a point of where they're ready to start working on their portfolio. And I say, give that up. You should be working on your portfolio now and keep learning along the way.
Yeah.
Because you will learn along the way. I learned so much just writing my portfolio. I was stunned how much I learned. And so just writing it was pretty interesting to me. And I realized that even after I submitted it, even after I was certified, I still have a lot to learn.
I think
so it
that's
never stops.
I think learning new things, new techniques, a different way to analyze something, different way to deal with negative evidence, and different ways of writing your conclusions when there's conflicting evidence. And the act of getting it on paper, whether you're typing it in your computer or actually writing it out, to get your current thinking in place. And then the next thing is mission critical. That's current thinking based on all of these information items from a variety of sources. And I'm using that term advisedly, remembering that information on family and a death record and an obituary are probably from the same source. The bereaved next of kin who goes to the funeral home, and the challenge is being able to adapt and embrace new information items and figure out, does that match or have I missed something? Just this last week on Wednesday, my cousins came up. Well, I have cousins, Grandma Myrtle and her sister, our aunt, Grand Aunt Grace. Some of her descendants, her grandchildren, came up and visited. I have the Bible. They have more pictures. One of them gave me a tintype. Oh, but anyway, one of them said, "What about the baby that died?" And I'm like, "What baby that died?" And from the lady whose tintype she handed to me, and she said, "Well, I have a letter here somewhere." And she pulled it up and she read the paragraph from the letter. And apparently, my dad's grandmother lost a child in infancy. But I don't know about that. And the other, there were 3 ladies, the other 2 didn't know about it. There's always something new that comes along, and it shapes an understanding of that ancestor's life, or may take us in a whole different direction. We may have the wrong person to begin with connected. That individual identifying of one person unique from another person that's the fun of the game, I think. Well,
And
Jill,
a very common problem for a case study. But I picked one that was similar to that. in Sweden for my case study, which was 2 Bent Andersons lived in the same place, but they had very different birth dates. Were they the same person or not? I'd already
Very
solved
tricky.
it. I'd already solved it. I already knew it. And then I wrote it up for my portfolio.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, a few more comments. Nadine says Frank is very good. He knows his sources and has good methodology, and she knows because he's helped her in the past. Hi, Andrew, my good techie friend. As Granny once said, I don't know everything, but what I don't know isn't worth learning. And he's a smart cookie. He really is. I love that. And Paul says, what? Well, that's interesting. What's the approximate age of certified genealogists that work professionally or are attain that certification for personal reasons? Any idea of that, or is that?
I see that somewhat we have now 44, I think it is, certified genealogists that have gone through our program.
Yeah, through
We've had
your
over,
program.
yeah,
Yes.
and
But
through,
not as far as BCG's total number of current
right.
credentials.
And the
Yeah.
ones that go through the program have a tendency to be, I guess that's not true. But they are the up and coming generation of genealogists go through
Oh,
the program.
good.
There's no question about that.
Yeah.
I'm several decades older than most of the students
Yeah.
that are in
Yeah.
it. Paul, I would guess, and this would be strictly a guess, looking at, and we have each person introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about themselves to begin with, that probably I'm looking at maybe 75% are taking clients and are a little worried that they're not writing to standards. And
Ooh.
about 25% aren't in the class. But of the CGs themselves, I think it's probably smaller than that. That the ratio of those who don't take clients but get their certification might be 10% or so. So of those who go through our program. So it's just a matter, I think, of them. Some of them want to up their game, and when they do up their game, then they decide to take clients.
Yep, you never know.
Never
Okay, Ellen, you have a comment. I'd like to bring you up so that you can voice that comment, and I appreciate you.
I just think that we constantly need to meet. You're talking about your cousins that came. I mean, they have details and they know stories that you aren't aware of, and that can really, broaden your family history and take you down a different path.
They told me personal things about my grandmother that I didn't know. My parents were divorced, and this is my dad's mom. And at the time when my parents got divorced, the moms always got the children. So shortly thereafter, we moved from the greater Seattle area, our home in Laurelhurst, which is an area by the University District in Seattle. We moved back east to Maryland, and I rarely saw my grandmother Myrtle after that. And if she were to call in those days, remember the olden days of you had to have the operator place calls for long distance, and it cost a fortune and all that. But these cousins, because grandmother lived in Puyallup and as did their grandmother, they spent the night at her house more than I ever did. But they told me in later years, Shelley, who is one of my cousins, would, when she got her driver's license, she's a younger gal, she would pick up Grand Aunt Grace and my grandmother Myrtle, and they would go to a restaurant for dinner, and my grandmother would order out an alcoholic drink. Now we have a tradition of Mormonism, and we try not to smoke or drink stuff like that because of the word of wisdom. And I knew that my grandmother probably had a glass of sherry at home because I could smell it on her breath. And I saw that she was a nurse and very active, inoculating soldiers during World War II who would be going from Seattle out into the Pacific theater a battle, and so there were all kinds of inoculations she would be dispensing. But you get older, you get achy, and yeah, that was probably
It was for
self-medication,
medicinal
not
purposes.
yes, of course, just medicinal purposes. But then I saw this whole other side, and Shelley told me that her grandmother was very the teetotaler to a T, and then would just quit talking to my grandmother. But what I always saw of the two of them together is that they were like best friends. So it was interesting to have a different dimension of their relationship, and we just had a ball. But anyway, we got a program to do. So Jill, thank you for telling us about your mentorship program, and I'm glad that we could kind of piggyback on the accolades you received at NGS this past weekend.
Yeah.
It's really good to see the work that you've been doing, and
And I
thanks for
put
your
thank you. And I put the link to sign up for the next class, which will be this fall, in the chat.
Okay, so let me that's the
Yeah, I probably
series.wordpress.
put it in the internal chat, not the
No, that's fine. And I will go put it here so that it'll go on the YouTube side.
Okay, thanks.
And that's perfect. So folks, that I just sent, and Monta says thank you. And Kathy, by the way, says she doesn't take clients. And this is a good reason to become certified. But I wanted to prove to myself that I was meeting the standards.
Right.
Bravo. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's switch gears and have Hillary come on up. I'll pull you up on stage. And somewhere I have Randy on my list. Randy, you had quite a week. Are you going to share your screen, or do you want me to? Well, talk to me first about what happened at WikiTree.
Well, the week went really fast.
Mhm.
The group of, I don't know, 35 that were competing
Mhm.
managed to find, I think, another 1,330 or so
Mhm.
connections
Mhm.
within 7 degrees. And then had to wait a week for the reveal. And so the reveal was last Thursday. It's on the WikiTree YouTube channel.
Mhm.
It's in my blog post.
I'll pull up your blog post a little bit here. Yeah.
And so the blog post has all the links, and so people can go and watch the reveal anyway. It's only 40 minutes, but it was an experience because that's how it is. I learned a lot. I learned that WikiTree is very full featured and very complex to learn how to use it efficiently. I don't use it efficiently. I still just type in. I don't use any of the new tools yet. I've dabbled a bit to find relatives of a profile, to write biographies, to bring sources from Ancestry and Family Search.
Mm-hmm.
As a result of this, I added information to several profiles on WikiTree after the challenge, and then I added content to my Roots Magic tree, and by extension to my Ancestry tree,
Mm-hmm.
based on the WikiTree profile. Some of the profiles that I had already had in Roots Magic had a death date or a marriage date or another spouse or something like that.
Right.
And consequently, I could add content.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were several interesting finds in the reveal video, and about people dying at the same time.
You had one where somebody died here, and 30 minutes later, the brother died up in Canada. I mean, odd little quirky things like that.
Yeah, a lot of the connections were not my ancestral families. That they were, many of them were related to the spouses of my aunts and uncles, and consequently, those don't help me, but they help other people. That it adds content to WikiTree, and perhaps more people will find their link in WikiTree as a result. There was one find that was a brick wall ancestor. I have a Mary Palmer, 1790 to 1845 in Somerset, England. And I have her marriage to James Fox, and I have her, and they migrated in 1830 to New York. But she apparently, I didn't know her parents, her family, and so she was mentioned in the will of an uncle, a brother of her unknown father. So that's a clue for me to try and find the father's name and information and extend that line. So that was good. I've dabbled there again, just looking for the John Palmer who was the uncle, and there's several in the area where he was supposed to be. He was in Martock. Mary was born there apparently and moved to South Petherton in Somerset before she married. Her family moved there. So 1790 time, 1800 time, there's not many records for people like that in Somerset.
Well, I think the interest in WikiTree, as we've been discussing it on and off for a couple of weeks, has had an impact. Hillary, you can report on this. Betty Lou just said she uploaded some pictures to WikiTree, and when it was my time on the WikiTree challenge, there were pictures that I'd never seen before that the researchers found. Did you have any big document or photo breakthroughs? Randy, was that an element?
I don't think so. I don't have many ancestors, many cousins in the first two generations back. My
Okay.
My mother was an only child. My grandparents were only children, my maternal side, and so I don't have a lot of cousins. And the ones I had for the great grandparents, they only had one or two kids. So, it's hard. Once I added my wife as an anonymous Leland to WikiTree because she's still living, and connected her to her parents who were already in the tree. I put them in before. Then they, that line took off a bit, and it's all to the good. And it's fun. So
well, last week when we mentioned WikiTree and that and how it was working, Gwen had mentioned, and Gwen, let me know if you're here today in the audience, because unlike Zoom, I can't tell unless you actually type a comment. She had uploaded her GEDCOM and then said she didn't see anything happening. And the rest of the group said, well, you have to do some matching. And I had promised Gwen that we would do a demo of the process. And in the green room, finally, with Hillary, I have figured out a way to take some of Mr. Myrt's data that I'm pretty sure is not all on WikiTree, and upload it. And we will be demonstrating next week how to create a GEDCOM file, what that means, how to upload it. And I will have already uploaded the file so that I will then be able to find that and start doing the matching. So Gwen, if you would contact me, Dear Myrtle at gmail.com, let me put that in the chat. I would like literally, if you're amenable to it, I mean, I don't mind if you stay as a faceless person on the YouTube side, but I would like to have you come be a panelist so that we can converse directly and go from there and show the process. And Hillary has ways she's given us advice on, how to do this. And so Hillary's going to be a big part of this. Also, totally off topic. Next week, Cindy's going to be with us again, talking about text expanders, something that Ursula brought up in our super secret panelist group over on Facebook. And we'll talk about that for a little bit. All right. We're going to take a break and come back to you, Randy. But Hillary, I would like you to bring everybody up on the panel because I want to talk about an ethical question. Okay. Am I sure that I have not? Oh, yeah, we're good. Everybody back? Okay. I get a lot of my information about what to talk about. I'm hearing a little sound in the background of somebody. I don't know what that is. Maybe somebody's printing. Here's the scenario. Posted, would everybody mute for a minute? Manually go ahead and mute. It's Maria that gave me the feedback because as soon as you clicked, it went away. I don't know what, it's maybe a fan going on in the background. You're fine. Here's the scenario as it was. I'm loosely paraphrasing something that came up. And Jill will know about this. Not that it's her scenario, but she and I belong to the same private Facebook group. So I'm not mentioning names or anything. But this presenter gave a virtual presentation. And she was surprised to find out that someone who was attending took that and sent it to that person's Facebook page. And part of why I don't stream to Facebook is that all the lettering goes backwards. It's just a phenomenon of it. You have to overcome it a certain way if you're tech savvy and have a cousin Russ kind of person to help you figure that stuff out. Also, the recording, it was a cell phone that was recording it, and so it wasn't stable. It was sometimes wonky. And the person that was doing that redistribution of yeah, jump in here, Jill. I'm like still chagrined to have even read this.
Well, it seems like we're getting about one of these a week. Or if you remember, we had a discussion, I think it was last week, about someone else who did something really weird during a presentation. A society that did an evaluation after each presentation in front of the speaker.
Right, we did that.
But this time, yeah, it was someone who had just set up a cell phone to take, to record it on their own. I mean, and then posted it. So, I mean, it was pretty flagrant, actually. Not just pretty flagrant, it was flagrant.
Yeah, first of all, just because we have the technology to do something doesn't mean we should be doing it. Contracts are created, and I'm saying this for all of you, not just my panelists. There is a speaker's contract between an organization and the presenter, and it involves things like the timing of it, time zones differences, so that everybody's on the same page. And one of them is, what do we do? Is this permitted to be recorded? Another option is this only for members of that society, or is it publicly available? And then if there is a recording, is it allowed to be publicly available, or does it go behind a membership wall for that society? All of those things are stipulated in the speaker's contract. For someone to totally independently circumvent that and share that content is the same thing as finding a really good 4-page handout that somebody wrote at the NGS conference, perhaps like this last weekend. Clearly a copyright notice on it, but there doesn't need to be a copyright notice. And then distributing that at the next Genealogy Society meeting, and maybe even having a class about it. Because we're just a nonprofit. We're just a small genealogy society. Panelists, Jill stated this. How are the rest of you reacting to this kind of flagrant misappropriation of somebody's well-contrived content and distributing it for your own society? What do you think? Jump in here, Hillary.
Yeah, this is just the same as any other thing as regards somebody's copyright, because the person that presents has got the copyright of what's done with it, and they've really broken their copyright, haven't they, by recording something like that, because they've obviously given permission for if it's being recorded, it's being given permission. If sometimes presentations are done and they're not recorded because the speaker doesn't want them to be available afterwards. So really, anybody recording it is breaking somebody's copyright.
Absolutely. I want to share a link with everybody, and it's Cindy Ingalls of Cindy's List. Can't live without it. Hopefully that's going out as a clickable link. We'll see. Let me know, somebody on the other side, and let me pull it up and show you a solution. But I do have to share my screen. Let's pull it up here. So what she did, we'll skip all this. What
Sorry.
it's okay. It's a cat. We love cats. She actually created some slides, 2 slides, and here's the written permission to use it. And please be courteous to your speaker and fellow attendees. Turn off your microphone during this. Do not take screenshots. Do not share handouts. Yeah, this. Those of you who speak publicly, how many hours does it take? It's not clickable. Well, that's because
It is,
it is clickable. Okay.
at least for me.
Okay, so we have to get it from Frank. No, Cindy has made several different graphic pages like this and shared them freely with all of us to use. And I would suggest that your society give a copy of this to your presenters, or tell them if they've got their own similar slide. This is copyrighted material. Please don't share the handout. In fact, I think one of the best copyright statements I ever saw at the bottom of a handout from a genealogical society meeting was copyright and the date and the name, and it says, please do not share. That was right there on the same line with the copyright statement. How many hours does it take to do a presentation? Would you say, any of you who are professionals? Oh,
Mine are 80 to 100 hours.
lots, and 80 to 100 hours.
Yeah,
40
I end up with over 100 slides because I
Well-
don't do animations or transitions because I want to make sure I preserve bandwidth.
Yeah. That's actually, nowadays, that's not as much a bandwidth issue unless you live on an island like I do, but that was like, remember when we got our 10 megabyte hard drive, the first hard drive I ever owned? Oh my gosh, we'll never fill it up. And now we have more than that in the way of RAM, 64. Yeah.
I don't worry
Anyway.
about mine, and I don't worry about the societies. I worry about the attendee. So they might not have the most sophisticated equipment. So I just find it a whole lot easier not to.
It's a matter of preference at this point. Yeah. Randy, how many hours does it take? You present to a number of mostly your local societies there.
Not anymore.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But how many hours would you say it would take? Because people just don't believe it when people like Jill say
40,
hundreds of
40 or
hours.
60 hours to prepare the slides, but I've been thinking about it for a while,
Yeah.
So, and then if it's not an evergreen that you don't have to change, then you have to go and review it again if you're going to show it again somewhere else. I just did that. 2 weeks ago, and but that took me 8 or 10 hours to just review it and put new slides in and update links and things like this. So it's not trivial.
Right. It's not trivial. When I always love co-presenting with Cousin Russ, because we could split that up And he would look at this half of the handout and I'd look at that half to check that the links were okay. And then one or the others would come back and say, my screenshots are totally off because they did a complete overhaul of their website. And it's, you got a day and a half before you're presenting and they just rolled it out. And then I had somebody to help me with it. So yeah, well, folks, I just want us to be thoughtful of our presenters and to recognize what Randy said in just a few brief words. He'd been thinking about it for a long time. When you pay a plumber to come repair your sink, it isn't just to take care of that leak right then and there, and the materials and the travel time. It's all the educational experience he's had over the years so that he knew how to solve this particular problem. And that is worth money. And you're robbing your presenters. And when societies do this, believe me, if they do not observe these copyright constraints and respect that, the word gets around. And you're not going to have good you're not going to get a good response when you ask people, because your society will have a bad reputation. So program chairs, please be nice. Let me take it a step further, and I'm going to have everyone except Randy, if you'd put them all in the wings again, Hillary. So while I'm doing this, it's really important that we are kind to our presenters. It truly is. Let me pull this up. Hillary or Valerie saying hundreds and hundreds of hours for preparing for a class. And Karen says, I would not want to lose speakers because of one bad apple. Speakers are too valuable. Now, you know that in the past, Cousin Russ and I hosted and then taught our panelists in later years to then host or moderate study groups based on, I've got the books up there, on Dr. Jones's Mastering Genealogical Documentation and Mastering Genealogical Proof. Those are 2 books. We did not use we used the book as a springboard, and we consulted with Judy Russell, the legal genealogist. And what we did was tell our panelists each week, okay, we're on chapter 7. Read chapter 7. Everyone who attended our publicly recorded meetings will have read chapter 7. You may quote a sentence or two given this citation, and we crafted a good citation to each book. And then in your homework, instead of answering the questions at the end of the book, because his books are workbooks, tell how that concept, that one little facet of a concept in that chapter, either has been a problem for you in the past or will influence your research in the future, using your own examples, your own ancestor documents, research that you've done. And we ran that by the legal genealogist, Judy Russell, because we wanted to respect copyright, but we wanted to use that book. Now, there's a different thing happening, and it's closed and not publicly available. Cindy Engel and who's the other gal? I can't remember her name right now, are teaching Mastering Genealogical Proof study groups, but they're closed and not recorded. Well, they might be recorded just for a short period of time, but only for those who've registered. In that time period, in that frame, that's okay. They can use the book more specifically than we use the book. Carrie Taplin, thank you, Melinda. Everybody else, it takes a village to get the story out with old Myrt here. Thank you. And thank you, Melinda. Yeah, Hillary, you were part of those study groups, and you know that we still learned a lot based on the individual experiences of the panelists because we went over everyone's homework, and that way we used the springboard of the book, and Dr. Jones was happy with that. Now, it was different when we were dealing with Elizabeth Schoen Mill's quick lessons. Let me pull up Evidence Explained while I mention this. Explained.com. She has those quick lessons that are available on her website. And let me add that to the stage. Here's quick lesson 2726, Thinking Through Ancestry.com citations. Well, we did her quick lessons, and this is publicly available. And so you could then use it and as a springboard and refer to it. And again, we would have our panelists still take this as a springboard, but we could actually do more than just show the cover of the book. In fact, this quick lesson is not in the book, Evidence Explained. So it's little sticky wicket. I agree with you, Melinda. I loved our study groups. I learned so much. Oh my gosh. Anyway, let's be courteous. So thank you. All right. It looks like Gwen is here. Gwen, please make note of my email address. It's in comments there because I'm not sure if you heard my request to speak with you in person next week when we talk about GEDCOM files and WikiTree. Okay, switching gears again. Randy, you want to share your screen? Do you want to set that up and I will make it go live and we'll go from there. Okay. All right. Okay, remember that you hit present.
Yeah,
Then you pick.
I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay.
Present.
Yeah.
Slides.
Let's see. No.
No.
Let me do it for you. Present, share, then it's share screen. Then
Share
it's
screen. Yes. Okay.
Then it's either Chrome tab window or entire screen. I'll tell you what. I'll get the link and do. Well, it's your PowerPoint. You have to do it.
I figured it out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you're working on that. Excuse me.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, we forgot to set it up, and that's entirely my fault. Hillary, can you type directions in the chat to help Randy? And what we'll do is we'll take the next topic and we will come back to Randy. That's what we shall do. Okay. Okay. Because he's going to talk to us about a new thing that's happening, a new resource that he's found. Well, the next thing I want to talk about, I can do a little bit of a lightning round, kind of. Let me pull this up. And we're going to go to ngsgenealogy.org. There's a new forensic genealogy book that's coming out that I want to tell you about. And there we go. It's right on their main page. And remember, Randy, you can get your set up while I'm also sharing my screen. So this is a good thing about StreamYard. This is the new book. Let's see. Forensic Genealogy. It's a pre-order right now. If you look at who the authors are, first of all, I have Michael Ramage, Catherine Desmarius, and the other authors that have contributed to this book are fantastic. So you're going to want to pre-order that. Okay. If you want to keep up with that particular thing. I'm not being uppity, I'm just saying. The other thing, Ancestry is telling us that in the US, those of you who are doing US military records research, you will be very happy to know that they're, pull this up. They are making U.S. military records collections available for free. And I'm sure that this is because of Memorial Day. If you are not redirected, please do this. Don't you love it? Limited time only. Search of millions of U.S. military records for free. Frank, you're over there in Germany. Can you try this link and see if you can get it over there? Let me give it to you in the private chat so you can just, yeah. Hillary, I know you can share screen, but it's a PowerPoint. Oh, good. Randy, now put yours in presentation mode because we're seeing the program itself, but I can see your first slide. Okay, I'm trying to multitask. How am I doing, guys? Okay. The next thing is to tell you that site-builder.com, our friends over there, have now added version 5, and there are some significant enhancements. Betty Lou, I was thinking of you when I put this link in to my lightning round list for today. Over 490 citation styles. You can have personal templates and favorites, etc. Yeah. Okay. Well, 2 more lightning round things. I did a post in response to a question. Please don't give me a hard time. Well, I can't log in. Don't you love it? All right. Let me give this link to you in the chat. There we go. I did a post in my Dear Myrtle group on Facebook, and I guess that I'm having a lot of fun today logging into Facebook. And most of us, unless we have indigenous ancestry, are probably going to be worrying about finding records of our immigrant ancestors. So look at that link. And one question from the audience, and then we'll get back to Randy. Okay, so the program we're using right now to broadcast to YouTube is called StreamYard.com. John, there are currently little quirky things. They were purchased by someone 2 months ago, and I am noticing some problems that I hope that they address because, as you can see, there's more dynamic options for controlling the view. If I were to use Zoom to do this and stream, I would need to use something else to stream specifically because the link to Zoom between Zoom and YouTube isn't very reliable. It's part of why I moved to StreamYard. The other reason I moved to StreamYard is that I have bandwidth issues because I live on Guimas Island. There used to be 1,200 permanent residents. There's about 900 of us. So we just, even though I have Ethernet, it's still a satellite to our building or to our island from Bellingham. So when it's stormy weather, our internet goes down. And so bandwidth is an issue, and Zoom takes up a lot of bandwidth on my machine. Here, I'm using something that's cloud-based. Okay, enough of all this. Let's get Randy back up on stage. And okay, so we're looking at your whole program, but that's all right.
No,
Let it be.
I had to make it a PDF because StreamYard now doesn't take LibreOffice.
Oh, okay, good to know. That's something to note then, John.
Yeah, last week they did, but now this week they haven't. Anyway, so
well, your alternative is to
so
make it. You have an alternative here. Just a minute. Let's solve that problem. When there are issues, like you just mentioned, aside from making it a PDF, which is a good solution, and that's why we're looking at it like this, you can also make it a Google slide, which means Google Slides is like PowerPoint.
Yeah.
You will lose some, sometimes things are the photos slightly off kilter and maybe covering up some text. So you'd have to look at it.
Yeah.
All right. Take it away, Randy. What are we talking about at MyHeritage?
A year ago, they came out with a multi-photo scanner mobile app called Reimagine, is what they called it.
Yeah.
And after so many pictures, you were charged $8 you had to sign up to get it for $8 a month.
Yep.
And so now they have put it on their own free MyHeritage mobile app, and it's called Multi-Photo Scanner, and it links directly to your MyHeritage Photos page. So if you have a MyHeritage account, you have a Photos page, and the photos you put up for your ancestors, etc., are on that MyHeritage Photos page.
Okay.
So the app is new. It's been a week or two now. So it's free. It's Apple and Android. It preserves and improves your family photos. It's quick and easy scanning of album pages or loose photos with a single tap. So I have all these albums in my bookcase here that are just waiting to be scanned. And they're all in the sticky tape thing, and and some are stuck to the backing and and so you can take a picture of the album page. I peel the sticky stuff back. You can take a picture of it, and with a single tap, it will detect individual photos and then crop them and then straighten them. And then in the app or online in your browser, you can repair or enhance or colorize or animate them. And then it saves the photos to your photos, MyHeritage photos, on the website. So the MyHeritage blog link is at the bottom of the sheet there. But let me just demonstrate here. I did this on my iPhone. And so you open the MyHeritage mobile app, and then you can tap on the three bars on the upper left, up at the top here.
Okay, we're still seeing your title.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, heck. I don't know. Darn it.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Can you click on the sidebar there to get to the next page, or use the navigation?
I'm showing it on my screen, of course.
Okay.
So yeah, I see what you're seeing now.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I'm sorry. Darn it.
All right.
So
all right.
let me just walk through it. You could go to MyHeritage.
Yes.
And show the photos.
Okay, I will do that, and I'll get ready to share my screen.
I'm sorry.
No, it's perfectly okay. We didn't know that was going to be happening. And yeah. Okay, so now I am at MyHeritage. Let me share my screen. These are it's how it is some days, not to worry. Okay, so I'm logged in. We are enabled to send an email. Yes, you can change. You have my email. Okay, so we want to go to photos, and then where do we go? Oh, wait, this is the part that's online where you can be adjusting them. Is that what you want to show? Because we're talking about a phone app.
Yeah, well, the app. Go to their blog.
Sure.
At the bottom of the page, and find the blog post.
Okay.
Because that goes through it pretty nicely, but I didn't want to take all that time.
Okay, well,
much time. I'm sorry.
No, keep talking, and I will find the blog post. Okay. Here's the blog at the bottom. Really should be. Okay. I got it. Let me share my screen. It, that is not where we were. It went away. I literally am having issues today with the internet.
Okay.
All right. Keep talking. I'll try it one more time.
Okay. So once you're on the app, you can tap on 3 bars in the upper left, tap on photos on the menu that drops down, tap on photo scanner, then set up the album page to be scanned. It can be crooked, doesn't matter. The photos can be crooked. And then on the app, you have it on the app now, tap the white button at the bottom to scan it. And then the mobile app will separate and straighten the photos magically. I know other sites have the same feature. And when I did 4 photos, it inverted the second photo for some reason. And
here's the white button. I see. Yes.
Yeah, you can tap on one of the photos, and then the mobile app will ask you, what do you want to do? You can colorize, enhance, animate, or repair on the app. And so it takes seconds to do,
very quick. Yes.
Very quick. So do many album pages if you can, but now you're going to have to tag them and animate them and colorize them or whatever. But it is easy and quick and useful. And on the My Heritage Photos page, then you can see the new photos, and then you can go in and enhance them and colorize them, either on the app or on the photos page. And then you can tag the people and add the date and the place, and add the caption, because it will come across as image numbers, image number 1, number 2, etc. And you can download them to your computer or share them on social media. So
there are these options. One of the things that I didn't realize is they have a photo dater if you're unsure of when the date, when it could have been taken.
Yeah.
And they're getting pretty smart about that. They really are.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's all kinds of things there, and it was very useful for me. You can, once you've tagged all the photos, and you can download them to your computer. There's a 3 dot up on the up near the top. But using the app takes less than a minute to scan each page or group of loose photos. I've done loose photos too. Just put them on a sheet of paper and take a picture.
Yes.
I don't usually use the app to modify the photo, but it can be done. All that tagging and dating and stuff takes less than 5 minutes per photo on the photos page. If you get good, it's less than 2 minutes. And you can download it to your computer in seconds, and then put it on your blog or put it in your photo files or whatever. Facebook. You need to choose the improved photo if you've colorized it. It gives you a choice: the original photo or improved photo.
Speaking about improving and image quality, that's something that Lila asked us when she saw your original. You had put the link to your post about this on Facebook, and she said her experience was when she saved the file, the image quality wasn't that good, and you have an answer for that.
Yeah, when I did it, my phone was set up. I don't know. I think my photos come out as 3 megabytes or something like that. And then I download them. And the first time I tried downloading them, they came out 100 kilobytes. And that was fuzzy when I put it on the slideshow that you never saw.
You worked so hard on it too, 100 hours.
So it may be your phone setting for photo sizes. It may be picking the photo size when you download it. If you often
Yeah,
have,
that I noticed on a mapping site that I had to use not the lowest quality. They gave me like a range of 4 different choices of quality, and
Yeah.
even though I knew I wasn't going to make a big, poster out of it, I had to pick the next to the highest quality to make it look okay on my computer or a printout, you know, from my little 8.5 by 11 printer here. So good. All right. Well, first of all, thank you, Maria, for getting me the link to the blog. Man, what would I do without you all helping me? So this, if you have an interest in this, it's $49 a year for this service. Com- uh, if you have My Heritage Complete subscription, then it's 37.
Really?
And yeah, and if you've previously subscribed to the Reimagined photo app, you will also enjoy unlimited photo scanning on MyHeritage, which is probably where you came in. Although they may have given you,
Drive now, though. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, cool.
I thought
All
it was,
right,
sorry,
go ahead.
I'm a pound of misinformation. So, yeah.
It's one of those days, but that's okay. If this were perfect, people would give up and never try using this technology. And the fact that we can communicate with people from all over the world. For instance, I had asked Frank to try to get access to that US military records at the .com ancestry site, and he's telling me that the US military records offer ends tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. And that's important because I had assumed it was because of Memorial Day, which is later in the month. So thank you, Frank, for that input. Takes all of us to get this stuff done. Well, Randy, thank you for joining me here today. I'm going to have you go to the wings and let me see what else is on the docket here. I wanted to mention something. When we talk about the fact that it just takes seconds to scan. We are dealing with a whole new era of scanners. This is the one I happen to have. No, I have one that's a little bit bigger or better than this. Remember, we met with the guy from Vivid Pics, and he has a scanning setup, and I ended up buying some archival glass to put on top of a book or an image if I wish to. That arrived this week. Mr. Myrt's like, I know we need new windows, but this one won't fit. And I said, it's to go on top of things, which helped me when I was scanning the photos my cousin brought last Wednesday. Literally, this overhead book scanner worked perfectly as long as, and the software that came with it could, in fact, it made multiple copies of the same layout. I put like 8 or 10 small photos on that black pad where the book is now sitting. I wonder if I can actually zoom in, but it's okay. And so rather than individually dividing them off, I had, if there were 10 photos there, it made 10 copies. So I only had to go to the first one and crop one picture, then go to the second one and crop another picture. I could change the resolution, but it's literally boom, one click. None of this old scanner stuff of it going back and forth slowly. And this is an expensive, the one I chose was expensive, but some of these are not that bad. Something worth waiting for or saving up for. I think I had this one initially, and I gave it to someone. And the reason I did was that I needed one that had more light sources to remove the effect of the light in the room. Otherwise, I'd have to be in a dark room and do it. And I live in a house that has really big windows, a lot of light, and skylights, things like that. So I chose not to have this one because this one has light coming from underneath this over camera area and also along here. This is a light bar that just magnetically attaches at the back. And this whole area is so brightly illuminated that it's incredible. The only time I didn't use the archival non-glare glass on top of the photos was with a tintype it's quite a large one. It was bigger than 5x7, which is unusual, but it was quite, tintype is literally tin with the image on it. I don't know how they put that on there, but it had been bent and there were bumps in the middle and it just light was getting reflected everywhere. So what I had to do was hold the image up at about a 45-degree angle or thereabouts. And you could tell on the computer screen when it was in the right position because then I had the full picture of my dad's grandmother. Are these the ones at the Family History Center? I used them during Roots Tech and they were amazing. At the Family Search Library now, it used to be called the Family History Library. I don't know. I haven't been there. I know that they are overhead scanners. It might not be this brand. I don't know. Ellen, come on up and talk to me about your scanner. Let's get you up here on the screen. There we go. So you have a Chimsun. Is it similar to this? You're muted, dear. You muted yourself. I'm unmuting you. Oh, you have to unmute yourself. Please.
Apologies.
Jeez,
Yeah,
what a
I bought
day.
this a few years ago.
Yeah.
And
Okay. And is it like
it
this
works really
layout?
well. Yeah,
Okay.
very
And it's
similar. Yes.
yeah. And Frank, let me pull you up and talk about book cradles and that I might use it. Tell me what, you made a comment and I'd like it to be in the recording.
Yeah. In the past, we needed a book cradle so that when you open a book, the whip corrects so that you always have a flat image. Nowadays, even cell phones can do that. I
Yeah.
was so amazed at the first time when someone got to our archive, simply snapped the photo and it corrected it automatically.
Mm-hmm. Google Photos is very progressive in that way. I would still use a book cradle and not put the glass on it if it were like my old family Bible. And then what Frank's talking about is the part of the page that goes down into the binding, so it's not perfectly flat. And that's what you're talking about, how they have figured out how to correct that and pull that up as if it were totally flat piece of paper underneath the scanner. Pretty cool stuff. All right. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your help
My
today.
scanner also can use OCR.
Yep.
Yep.
Very good. Mine will. It's always exciting to see what'll happen. And as there are advancements in artificial intelligence, I'm basically using Perplexity, which is something that we talked about a number of weeks ago when we had a guest. It includes ChatGPT 4.5. I haven't checked lately to see if it has the 4.0. Because Perplexity doesn't do the hallucination. That's a technical AI term that tends to happen. Man, so many things. Let's see. So Gwen, please send me an email, dear. Did you get my email? Let me know in the chat. She likes Google Photos too, but remember that what you put in it goes towards your overall Google total, including email. Yes, but eventually, I mean, it's free and you can take it down later if you want. You don't have to leave it up in the cloud. Let's see. And sometimes we have to actually pay the piper. We really do. Okay. Yeah, Gwen, let me know if you got my email. or if you have the address, because I want to talk to you next week in person, if possible. All right, let's quit while we're ahead, guys. It's been quite a day with little individual challenges and such, and I'm really tickled pink with how all this has worked out. I was telling my neighbor and also my daughter, it's taken a village of you to help me do this. I was so accustomed to Cousin Russ doing so much of my thinking and co-hosting, and we've got Hillary and each one of you coming up with ideas for content each week. And I really appreciate that. And keeping me on task. I want to spotlight one more thing from the U.S. National Archives, okay? And they have embraced technology something wonderfully. And it used to be you'd go there in the fall, they'd have their annual genealogy conference, and people like Carol Petranik, who was here earlier, would speak, etc. Mr. Myrt and I would attend because we would always be sure we were back east at his home at that time period. But now, because of technology, they do this same thing where they stream live to YouTube, and then it's automatically recorded. They don't have to do post-production work at all. I love that. So instead of their annual genealogy conference, they do a series, and it is going live May, starting tomorrow, with the welcome and introduction and a class on passport records. Let me zoom in just a tad. And remember, it says ET for Eastern time, but it is Eastern Daylight Time. And these are their various topics: tracing the lives of Native American Army scouts, captured German records related to American prisoners of war. Gosh, we got to tell Ursula about this, because somewhere on Facebook she had said she hoped that collection was going to be getting digitized. Then we have the A files, the alien files, looking at researching immigrant ancestors at the National Archives. Then World War II enemy alien records, and these are the Japanese Americans that were sent to the camps during World War II for hysterical reasons. I think that's a good way to put it. And then closing remarks. So see, this is spread out 21st of May through the 25th of June. And Jill's saying she's planning, she said in our private chat, she's planning to attend the passport class. Her grandfather went back to Denmark 2 times, so she knows a passport is involved. Yeah, that's okay. It's a-okay. And when these presentations are being made, thereby basically the employees of the archives, I'm going to say that because it might be at one of the regional branches of the U.S. National Archives. These are the ones that specialize in that particular record set. So they kind of know the quirky things about them. Yeah, so look forward to that. One thing I'd like to also mention, and I haven't done this for a while, but it's important to me, and that is that everyone is welcome to attend our Mondays with Myrt. We welcome everyone. I love learning about different cultures and different record sets that were kept by a different form of government or a different church other than my kind of church. And the Mormon Church has only been around since the 1830s and 40s. That's a very young church. I'm really thankful in doing research for somebody in Ecuador that the Catholic Church kept copious records. And any of these records that have been preserved really help us make a timeline of our ancestors' lives and understand more of what's going on, and how these cultural things They're so interesting, but it's what we may have inherited down through the generations. Yeah. I wonder if I ought to take up my Grandma Myrtle's propensity for having a sip of sherry in the evening. I don't know. I don't know at all. But anyway, folks, there's nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap. See you next week.